See if this works. I really hope it works. We're having a little bit of trouble getting the live stream to work today. So I'm trying a different way of doing it. We'll find out in a moment if this works. I did try this once already and it didn't work. So we'll see in a second if it does work. It looks like I might have a few people watching. Okay, live is working, but not here. I'll post the link a second. So bear with me, everyone. I'm going to let everyone know that the live stream is working, but I need to post the link so people that are in the other live stream come over and watch it. Not sure why I was having technical difficulties. While waiting to get started, I'm going to do a live. Oh, there I am talking. I am going to do a live lesson on the great outdoors. I really hope that this works. I will just write hello here so that everyone can see me. Excellent. Okay, so let me post the link into my other chat. Where is my button here? Let's see. Live is right here. And let me find that back. We are going to get started in a moment. Just give me a second here to make sure everything is working. We're going to be talking about the great outdoors in just a moment. Hopefully everyone in the other live stream finds their way over and we can get started. So hopefully everyone is here now. Hi, Bob the Canadian here. We're going to do a lesson right now on the great outdoors, or basically the things that people like to do outside when the weather is nice. Most of these things only happen when the weather is nice. Let me just check one more thing to make sure that people know what's going on. Bear with me, especially those of you that are watching the replay. You're probably just fast forward a little bit. The lesson will start soon. Anyways, we are going to be talking about the great outdoors. Let's get started. I'm going to be talking today about things like camping. So I'm not going to talk about the things that we do outside when the weather is wintry, when it is winter. I'm going to be talking about the things that Canadians and other people around the world do when the weather is nice. So I'm talking in Canada in spring, summer, and fall, or autumn. We use both words. But I'm going to be talking about things like camping. So camping is something that people in Canada do a lot of. In the summer, almost any given weekend, most weekends, I have a friend who is camping somewhere. I currently have a friend who is camping in the United States. So camping is somewhere you take tents, and you go to a campground and you pitch your tent or you set up your tent. You can say either. And in the campground, usually there's lots of trees. There's lots of shade under the trees. These people have pitched their tents or set up their tents kind of out in an open field. But in Canada, you have to pay to go camping. Not everyone realizes that. I know in some countries, people can just camp for free. But in Canada, you have to pay money because most of our campgrounds, the place where you camp is called a campground. Most of our campgrounds are national parks, or they are run by a division of the government that's in charge of protecting those areas. Let's see here. Kristen asks, could you show the pictures on the left? That's tricky to do for me. I'll try to switch back and forth, Kristen, but I'm going to forget because I always hold them on this side. So anyways, if you look here, we have RVing. So RVing, this is a really funny word, RVing. RV stands for recreational vehicle. If you watched the lesson a couple weeks ago on vehicles, we talked about the RV. And so when you go RVing, you either buy or rent. Basically, it's a home on wheels. And you also stay at campgrounds. It's very similar to camping. In fact, when you go with an RV, there's usually people camping with tents, and there's usually people who have an RV or have come and are using an RV. So a lot of times when people have an RV, they have electricity, they have a working bathroom in the RV, and a lot of times they have water that they hook up to. So it really is like it's like being at home, except you're in your RV. In fact, some people say that you're not really roughing it. When you go camping, we use the phrase to rough it. So rough it means to live outdoors for a bit. Sorry, bit, typed that wrong. So in English, you can rough it, which means that you go and you camp or you live in your RV for a little bit. Some people also go to the cottage. So a cottage is a small home. In Canada, in Ontario province, most people, when they go to the cottage, they go north because northern Ontario is where a lot of people own cottages. So a cottage is a small second home. It's usually on a lake. This picture is not from Ontario because we don't have mountains this big. But it's normally just a small second vacation home. Sometimes the cottage doesn't even have heat, so it only works to go there in the spring, summer, and fall. So a lot of Canadians either own or rent a cottage at some point in the summer, and they go and they use their cottage. So that is to go to your cottage. We also have something called cottage country. So when you go north in Ontario, Canada, eventually you get to cottage country. Because Canada has so many lakes. I'm not sure if we have the most lakes in the world, but Canada has a lot of lakes. So a lot of our outdoor activities are spent doing things around water. So if we go to the cottage or we go to the campground, there's usually a river or lake or some body of water close by, and that's why people go camping. One of the reasons they go camping is to spend time on the water. So the difference between a cottage and a cabin, not much. You can have a cabin. We use the word cottage more now, though. We use the word cottage instead of cabin, but they are basically the same. A cabin is a small building out there. We do a lot of this in the summer, especially because it gets really, really warm. So we go swimming. Most Canadian children have swimming lessons when they're really, really young. In fact, a lot of them have swimming lessons during the summer. So all of my children had swimming lessons when they were young. I think, again, because there is so many lakes and streams and rivers in Canada, we think it's important that our kids know how to swim. So they have swimming lessons. Marco asks, what about a hut or shack? So hut and shack we don't really use those too much. I'm just going to post in here. I forgot to mention, if you have questions, please use the form. And we'll do the same as last week. Every 5 frames, I will check it out. So we go swimming a lot. We go to the pool. There are many community pools in Canada. So pools that the town pays to build, and sometimes you have to pay a little bit of money to go swimming, but there are a lot of community pools because it does get quite warm in Canada. Not as warm as what some of you experience. I know some of you have crazy hot. Just a sec here, I got to take care of something. Sorry, it is in the other stream. I'm still letting people know. So it gets about 35 degrees Celsius in Canada, and we think that's really hot. I know some of you went through heat waves where it was 40 or 45 or even more. So, but in Canada, we think that's really hot. But but it's really not compared to the rest of the world. So we go to the pool. We also go to the beach. So I live near the Great Lakes. In Canada, there are 5 Great Lakes. There's Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Ontario, and Lake Erie. And if you look on a map, they are gigantic lakes. They are almost as big as an ocean. And so a lot of times in the summer, Canadians will go to the beach, as do people in a lot of other parts of the world, of course. So yes, the beach is the other place where we go swimming. I just want to say good morning again to everyone in the chat. Sorry that the live stream didn't start on time. I really like it when things start on time. I'm very particular about that, so I apologize. But we're here now, and we're doing a lesson on the great outdoors. We're about 10 minutes in, and we're talking about things that people do outside. In Canada, we have beaches on our Great Lakes, but we also have beaches on the Atlantic coast and the Pacific coast. So if you go east all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, there are beaches there. And if you go west all the way to British Columbia, there are beaches there as well. We also have things called splash pads. So this is not really a place to go swimming, but you can see this is for kids. My kids really still love the splash pad, even though they're getting a bit older. But there's all different things that shoot water. So the kids can go to the splash pad and they can just have a lot of fun. What I recommend is kiddie pool. So a kiddie pool is a place where just kids can go to swim. So kiddie pool. Looks like the live stream is, I think it's still working. I think it's working. It sounds kind of funny though. I think it's still working. I think it's working. It sounds kind of. Maybe I have it open twice. Let me just check here. Is the audio okay? Can you guys let me know in the chat if the audio is working properly? Is the audio okay? You guys let me know. Let me just check a couple things. Oh, okay. Everybody says it's okay. So we'll keep going. So here's a completely different, I think this one's in the wrong part of the, in the wrong order, but people go gardening. Gardening is when you like to grow plants outside. So you can see this lady is out in her garden. People have things like flower beds or vegetable gardens where they grow things. So you can see that this lady is out. She's probably weeding. Weeding is when you go and you pull out the plants that you don't want. You know how when you grow, let's say you're growing beans, but then there's all other plants that grow in the dirt around your beans and you pull them out. So she's probably weeding. So people enjoy gardening. Either they grow flowers and make their home, the outside of their house look really pretty with flowers, or they might grow a vegetable garden just so that they have food to eat later in the year. It's less and less common in Canada for people to grow vegetable gardens because I think it's so much easier just to buy your food in the grocery store. So people don't tend to grow vegetable gardens anymore as much. Let's get back to the water though. Here's a whole bunch of things that people do outdoors in the water. So again, because Canada has so many lakes, streams, rivers, and because the ocean is on both of our coasts, people do a lot of boating. It's quite common for a Canadian to own a boat. I don't own a boat, but at least 2 people I know own boats. I know that my neighbor has a boat, and he often goes out on his boat because he likes to go fishing. So again, when you have lots of water around you, people tend to do a little bit of fishing. So I'm not sure, I have someone at the door, but I'll just leave them be. So when you go fishing, you get your fishing rod and you go out. This person is fishing from the shore, but you can also fish from your boat, obviously. So you get your fish rod and you cast your line out into the river or the stream or lake, wherever you are, and you have a little bit of bait on your hook, and hopefully you catch something. I haven't done any questions. I should start doing some. Let's do a few questions here for a sec. So it says, English is fun. An RV is not the same as a camper. They're very similar. We would call an RV a camper, but usually a camper is the trailer that we pull behind. The next one is, how about erecting, oh wait, this one, how about erecting a tent? We do say erect a tent, but it's not as common. Usually we just set up a tent. Set up a tent or pitch a tent is usually the way we do it. Let's see here. And I'm only going to be talking about, I'll only answer questions about the topic today. So sorry about that, people. I know some of you have other questions. P-Pair says, what do you call a natural pool with hot water coming out? So we call that a hot spring. I think we might have hot springs in Western Canada, but I'm not sure. So again, people, if you have questions about the topic of the great outdoors, please ask them using that link. So here's a water sport. Turk Lee just asked about water sports. This is water skiing. So anything that you do on the water like this, where you can do it competitively, is a water sport. But water skiing is something that I have done. I did a lot more when I was younger. So you have a ski or two skis that you stand on, and there's a rope, and the boat pulls you. It's very, very fun. You can see this person is being safe because they have a life jacket on. So in case he falls over, he'll want to be able to float in the water. Because lakes are very, very deep, and you don't want to, even if you know how to swim, it's nice to have a life jacket on just in case you fall down. So this person is water skiing. Something that's a little more calm is canoeing. So here's a couple of people canoeing. Some of you know my story about how I borrowed my friend's canoe and I left it on the side of the river and someone stole it. And then a couple years later, I borrowed my sister's canoe and I left it on the side of the river and someone stole it. So I've had 2 canoes stolen from me. But a canoe is a small, narrow boat, and you use a paddle. You paddle your canoe in order to go places. So it's a very calm and quiet way to spend some time on the water. So canoeing. So this is a canoe. These people are called canoers, and they are canoeing in the canoe. Did you get that? These canoers are canoeing in their canoe. There you go. Try to say that a couple of times fast. And again, they should be wearing life jackets. I'm not sure why they aren't. They should be, though. Everyone should wear a life jacket. A kayak is a slightly different kind of I guess you would call it a small boat, but a kayak is usually made for 1 or 2 people. And the difference between a kayak and a canoe is that a kayak, there's 2 ends to the paddle. So with a canoe, you paddle like this with a canoe, but with a kayak, you paddle like this. Looks like I'm trying to punch you. So, sorry, don't be afraid. So a kayak is another relatively cheap way to enjoy the water. You can jump on a kayak. Let's see here. I'm going to check if there's questions. Let me get rid of some of the old ones. Okay, there we go. We'll delete those. This is from Ethan, has a question. And Ethan's question is, what do you call water sports and all kinds of sports related to the sea? That's hard to say. We would call them water sports. If it's particular for the ocean, I'm not sure. Like in the ocean, people tend to do a little more scuba diving and snorkeling. I'll talk about that in a sec. So not exactly sure there's a general term for that. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, here's a great question. Louise says, why do Canadians go fishing although they don't eat that much fish? So we do a lot of catch and release fishing in Canada. So we catch the fish, we look at the fish, we take a picture maybe with the fish, and then we throw it back in the water. Because we want to, number one, we want to preserve our stocks of fish. And then I think it's just a good thing to do. They call it sport fishing. So you're fishing not to get food. You're fishing instead just to enjoy being out there and catching some fish. So we do a lot of catch and release. Thank you for all the compliments that are in the chat. You guys are awesome. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to answer this next question. Ilya says, what kind of fish do you have in Canada and where's the best place to go fishing? You can fish anywhere. You need a license though. You have to get a card from the government that gives you permission to fish, but you can fish a lot of places in Canada. You can catch a lot of, I don't know all the different fish, but there's bass, trout. Out west, there's salmon. That's as many as I know off the top of my head. Awesome to see all these people watching. Again, welcome to this live. Hopefully people made it over from the other channel. I don't think there's many people left there. I'll just post a link and then we'll continue. I'll do one more question here. Let's see. This is a good question too. So, what did I just do there? Bob the Canadian is clicking all the wrong buttons this morning as he's trying to. I'm a little out of sorts. Do you know what that means? I think because the live stream didn't work right away, I'm a little flustered. You can look those words up. Anyways, Alexa says, we saw all activities related to spring and summer, but what about winter sports and activities like snowboarding or skiing? So I will do those in another lesson in about 7 months when it's winter here. But right now we're just going to talk about things that you can do in the nice weather. Some people go surfing. I'm not sure how popular surfing is in Canada, but it is something that you need really, really large waves in order to go surfing, and you need a surfboard. So I have not gone surfing. I am not a surfer. I have not been out on the ocean on a surfboard in my life, but maybe someday I'll try it. But I think I would spend a lot of time wiping out. Wiping out is when you fall off the surfboard. I think I would do more of that than I would actual surfing. For those of you just joining us, we're looking at the great outdoors, and in particular, we're looking at outdoor activities, things that people do when they are outside. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago too. This is a jet ski or a sea-doo. It has two names, jet ski or sea-doo, and this person is out jet skiing. So we call this like a personal watercraft, I think is the name. So you have one person and it's like, I guess it's kind of like a motorcycle for the water. I don't know if that makes sense, but people spend a lot of time jet skiing in the summer as well. Let's check to see if he's being safe. Yes, he has his life jacket on. He's doing a great job out there. Here are things that people do in lakes and oceans, is scuba diving. So with scuba diving, you have a nice scuba mask and you have tanks on your back that are filled with air, and then you have a that you can use to breathe the air. I think it's called a regulator. So you see this person is carrying air on their back, and they have little flippers on their feet so that they can swim really well. He's probably wearing a wetsuit. So a wetsuit is a special suit that you wear, especially if the water's cold. You need to wear that. So here we have a scuba diver, and that person is doing some scuba diving. I think this is called a scuba mask. You guys will have to look that up, whether that's what it's actually called or not. I'm not an expert scuba diver, nor am I an expert snorkeler, but I did go snorkeling as a kid. So snorkeling is a little bit different. You see here we have the little snorkeling mask, but there's also, when you go up to the surface of the water when you're snorkeling, you can use this to breathe. So you don't have to come up for air. In English, when you're underwater and you need to breathe, we say that you come up for air, but you don't need to come up for air. You just need to get close enough to the surface that this will go up above the water, and then you can breathe. So snorkeling is done a lot when people are on vacation. In Canada, people go south for vacation. And then I think they do a lot more snorkeling, although I'm sure people do some snorkeling around here as well. Let me just check for questions again, folks. Let me clear up the ones that I've handled. So Lolly is asking about people, do you consider caving to be an outdoor activity? So I think you're talking about like exploring caves. That would definitely be an outdoor activity. And I think there's an English word for it, spelunking. We don't use this word very much anymore, but you should look that up. That means to explore caves. So there are people asking questions that aren't about the great outdoors. So that's why I don't answer those. I try to stay on topic for everybody. Let's see here. Reading cities I've heard. Oh, this is from Marco. So if I don't answer your question, it's probably because it's not about great outdoors. Marco says, reading City of Islands, I've heard words like foghorn, buoy, and bob. Yeah, so this is the funny thing about my name. If you're in the water, okay, so let's say I jump in the water and I'm going up and down like this. The English word for that is bob. I'm bobbing, and it's also my name. So you could say Bob, Bob's in the water. That would be that's an actual English sentence. Bob, Bob's in the water. So my name, Bob the Canadian, means to do, you know how you're in the water? This is me bobbing. That's pretty fun. We also have windsurfing. So windsurfing is kind of a combination of sailing and surfing. Okay, so someone had this idea a long time ago to put a sail on a surfboard. So here we have someone windsurfing. So they're out using the wind to be able to surf a bit. This is more common in our lakes than actual surfing because we have lots of wind, but we don't have really, really big waves. So you will see a lot of people windsurfing in Canada. Very, very common. We also have sailing. Now, this requires a little bit more money, but let's see here. We have little sailboats out on the water here. So they have a sail and then the boat part, and they use the wind in order to be able to move around. Usually sailboats have a small motor on them just in case of emergency. So if you're out on the lake and there's no wind, usually you can row back to shore, or you can row with a paddle, or you can use a little motor. But generally a sailboat uses the wind to move around. Let me do one more question. Let's see here. It says here, do Canadians sometimes gather in groups or in a village for an outdoor activity? So people tend to go and do things with their friends, and sometimes they go and do things with a group of people. One of those things is actually the next thing I'm going to look at. Let's see here. I'll just do one more question, then we'll get to that. Saeed says, is it scuba diving or snorkeling? So scuba diving, you have tanks on your back, and you breathe the air from the tanks. Snorkeling, you just have a tube that goes up to the surface of the water. But sometimes groups of people go and they do white water rafting. So in Canada and in the United States, we have a lot of rivers that have rapids. So we call this rapids. When the water goes over a lot of rocks and it turns a little bit white, it's usually, we call it white water, or we call it rapids. Those are the two words for it. And sometimes people go white water rafting. So you can see these people, they have helmets on their heads because it's dangerous if you fall out because there's a lot of rocks. And they have an inflatable boat. That means the boat is filled with air. So they're out in their inflatable boat and they're going whitewater rafting. And sometimes companies take their employees on whitewater rafting trips because it's a good bonding experience. You get to know people really well, apparently, when you go down a really fast river with them and all that stuff. So next question. Let's see here. Just going to take a sec to ban some. There we go. It says, Rodrigo says, you guys are used to doing picnics in parks. Is there a culture of this? So people do picnics. So people will do a picnic at the beach. They'll do it at the park. I think I'm going to talk about picnics in a little bit as well. But yes, people definitely go and have picnics. Some people, just let me take a sip of water here for a sec, folks. People do a lot of walking. So you have to remember that Canada is a winter country. So our winters are really, really long and really, really cold, and we can't do a lot of things outside. So I think once the weather is warm, Canadians go outside quite a bit. So here we have a person just walking. We tend to drive our cars a lot in the winter, and then we tend to walk a lot more in the summer, in the spring and summer and fall. I walk a lot more outside at this time of year as well. And we also have people who go running or jogging for exercise. So there's a lot more of this happening as well in the nicer months. I'm not a runner. I'm not a runner. I would love to be a runner. I would love to be someone who runs every day. But I walk every day. But I find running is very, very hard. I know it's good exercise. I know a lot of you probably are runners. You probably go out running quite a bit. People also do a lot of hiking. So hiking is when you go, I guess, for a walk. You could say you go for a walk, but it's usually in nature. You usually go out in the forest. You go on trails. So these people have hiking poles. And they have a backpack. A lot of times when you go hiking, you take a backpack, and they are out in the forest, or they're out in the woods, or they're out in the wild, and they are just hiking. And again, usually we hike on trails. There are established trails in our area where people can go hiking. So hiking is another thing that people do. Let me check for questions, and then we will keep going. We're moving along nicely here. Let's see here. Susanna has a question, and the question is, hi Bob, do you prefer winter or summer outdoor activities? I really like winter. I don't know why. So I do like to be outside in the winter. I don't do a lot, but I like skating. But I don't want to talk too much about the winter because I'm going to do another lesson on that later. So again, hi to everyone in the live stream. The next question is from Lee, and the question is sailing in a yacht. So a yacht is a big boat that really rich people own. So they don't usually go sailing in a yacht that I know of, but I'm not an expert. But a yacht is a really fancy boat. I know that much. Dolvery says, is hiking around in nature? Yes, when people go hiking, they're definitely hiking in nature. That's where they go to do that. Let's see here. This is a great question too, because English is so weird sometimes. Saeed says, why sometimes do native speakers say into a boat or onto a boat or on a boat? What's the difference? So sometimes it just depends on the size of the boat. If it's a really little boat, I would say I'm going to get in the boat. But if it was a really big boat, like a ship, I would say I'm going to get on the ship or on the boat. So it's a slight difference, and it's, oh, there's a fly here. And it's not a big deal if you make a mistake on that. Do you guys have, I'm sure you have flies in your country. Do you have flies? I have one right now that's come and it's joining the live stream. Let me grab the next question. Let's see here. Oh, this is from Lee as well. So on, at, or by the beach. So in English, if I was to take my family to the beach, we would go to the beach. Like, do you want to go to the beach today? Yes, let's go to the beach. When we get to the beach, we would lie or lay on the beach. So once you're there and you're actually at the beach, you would lie down on the beach. And if you are by the beach, it just means you're close. So some people own houses by the beach. It just means that it's close to the beach. Let's see here. Oh, this is a good one. Louise says from Germany, is it true that Canadians like to drive through the countryside without having an actual destination? Yes, especially on motorcycles. So people in Canada that own motorcycles, they often go they just go for a drive to enjoy themselves. Okay, here we go. I didn't want to get into too many sports because we play soccer outside. We do all the outdoor sports, but I did want to mention this one because you know that in Canada we like hockey and we play a lot of ice hockey in the winter. But in the summer, just because there's no ice, it does not stop us from playing hockey. So we play ball hockey or street hockey. So street hockey or ball hockey. So you will often see kids in the summer in our cities, they'll play hockey on the street. So they'll get a ball instead of the round puck. They'll get an actual ball, and they'll play street hockey or ball hockey. So I don't want to talk too much about all the outdoor sports though, but that's one of the sports that people do play in the summer. And there's even tournaments. When I was younger, I would play in ball hockey tournaments. So you would play hockey outside with a small ball. Let's see here. There's 468 people watching. That's a lot of people. Welcome, everyone. Another thing we do outside is a lot of cycling. We especially notice this on the weekends, that there are a lot of cyclists. So a cyclist, that's hard to say, isn't it? A cyclist is someone that cycles or rides a bike. You can say cycling or bike riding. Either one's fine. But we'll see a lot of cyclists because we live out in the country. It's nice to go cycling along the country roads. So we'll see a lot of people going by our place on bikes in the summer, a lot of cycling. And then some people, they don't like riding a bike on the road. They need something a little harder, so they go mountain biking. You don't need actual mountains to go mountain biking, by the way. But it's a different kind of bike. We call this a mountain bike. And this person is riding, he has his backpack and a helmet, and he is riding on some trails. So regular cycling, they do it on the road. You can see that this person is riding on the road. And mountain biking, they usually do off the road. So they do it out in the countryside or on actual mountains and trails. I used to, when I was a kid, do a little more cycling or a little more biking. Sorry, there's so many names for that. It's kind of weird, eh? Let's see here. Why do Canadian fish, although they don't eat that much fish? Had that question. Oh, this is from Papi Chulo. Hi, Papi. I recognize your name. Says, hi, Bob. What's the average temperature in the summer in Canada? So where I am, it's about 28 degrees Celsius. Oh, I spelt that wrong. Go away, fly. I could see myself on the screen trying to swat the fly away. So that's what you do with flies, by the way. You swat them away. You get out of here, fly. So you swat with your hand. Or you get a fly swatter, and then you hit the fly with that. I might have to use my laptop case as a fly swatter. So you might end up seeing a fly meet its end right here on my YouTube channel. So the average temperature in Canada is different across Canada, but usually in the high 20s and into the 30s. So that's about what the average temperature is in Canada. Let's see here. Nata says, have you ever come across a bear? Once in the summer, I was camping up north. Oh, you can swat a fly. I was camping up north. Let's see here. So hiking on the mountain. Oh, this is a good one too. We'll do this question and then I'll keep going. Saeed says, is it hiking on the mountains or in the mountains? We say in the mountains. I'm going to go for a hike in the mountains. But if it's one mountain, you might say that you're hiking on the mountain. So you would go hiking in the mountains with an S on the end, but you would hike on a mountain. So if it's one mountain, you would hike on it. I know it's weird, eh? Like, oh, I'm going to go for a hike on Mount Joe. I don't know the name of a mountain. So if it's in general, you would say in the mountains. This is not an outdoor activity, but I thought I should mention rock climbing, where you climb on a wall and you have ropes so that you can practice, because in the there are mountain climbing. In Canada, in the western province of Alberta and British Columbia, we have mountains. We have the Rocky Mountains, and people go mountain climbing. Bob the Canadian will never ever go mountain climbing. I'm afraid of heights. Do you know what that means? So I don't like being up in really high places. So mountain climbing is not for me. I am never ever going to go mountain climbing ever. But mountain climbing is for people who love using ropes and they have all their equipment. They have their mountain climbing gear. So gear is another word for equipment. And they go and they climb mountains and they love it. Apparently it's really, really fun and exciting and exhilarating. Here's something else the non-exciting Bob the Canadian would never do, and that's bungee jump. Oh, the fly landed. Just one sec. Everyone just wait. I missed it. Sorry. Some of you probably love flies and you would have been sad if I had gotten it. But so bungee jumping, you attach this, what we call a bungee cord. It's a really stretchy cord and you jump off of like a bridge usually. And then when you get to the bottom, you bounce back up again. So anyways, I think people are laughing at me trying to kill a fly. I hope when I clapped by my microphone, it didn't hurt your ears. Anyways, bungee jumping. I see Max is asking about, what about basketball? So I am not doing outdoor activities that are sports right now, okay? That's not my plan. So we're doing the things right now that Bob would never do. One is parachuting. This is where you jump out of a plane with a parachute. So we call it parachuting. Actually, someone I know last summer went and they did parachuting. They parachuted out of a plane. That's crazy. I'm afraid of heights. I mentioned that 3-4 times now. I am not going to go jump out of an airplane. So parachuting, not going to be doing that. I have though gone off-roading. So off-roading is where you drive a vehicle out in the countryside. Usually there's places where you can go off-roading. Nada says, why would you never parachute? I can't jump out of a plane. I'm flying though, but I can't jump out of a plane. So this is where you take a 4-wheel drive vehicle and you drive up and down hills out in the country for fun. And a lot of people in Canada go 4-wheeling. So if you watched the video on vehicles, we call this a 4-wheeler, or we call it an ATV, all-terrain vehicle. These people should be wearing helmets though, safety first. And you go and you drive your 4-wheeler. So we call that 4-wheeling. Like, oh, I went 4-wheeling with my friends last week. So that's another thing that people do. If you're looking for something just a little quieter, you have horseback riding. So horseback riding is where you ride a horse. So I'm not sure if any of you have horses. Less and less people in the world have horses. My grandfather had a horse when I was really, really young. I don't remember it, but horseback riding is something that people do also for fun, just to go outside and enjoy themselves. Let me check the questions for a sec. The question is from Angenier. It says, hello Bob, would you simply count traveling as an outdoor activity? And also, do you spell it as traveling or traveling in Canada? We spell it both ways. So traveling has 1 or 2 L's, and there's the British spelling and the American spelling. So we just use both in Canada. We're a little bit crazy that way. And yes, people sometimes do that. We would count that for sure, just traveling. And I think I might even have mentioned sightseeing when we talked about travel. So some people, an outdoor activity would be to go sightseeing, just to go see things. Daniel's question is, what is the most popular activity that Canadians do in the summer? So notice I made some corrections there, Daniel. What is the most popular activity that Canadians do in the summer? I would say camping. Camping, and then anything to do with boating. So camping, boating, water skiing, fishing, all of those things are very, very popular in Canada in the summer. I think, again, because we have so many lakes and rivers and all of that. So there's just a lot of people doing that. We also in the summer because it gets nice out. We have outdoor concerts, and I'm sure a lot of you have this too. Outdoor concerts are super fun. I was just at an outdoor concert for Canada. July 1st was Canada Day. So we, a couple weeks ago, we went out and we went to a live concert. We saw a country western band at our local community center. And it was an outdoor concert. It was really, really nice. Sorry, my throat's a little dry today. I'm not sure why. But I'll just have a little sip of water. We also, this is kind of silly, but we also do outdoor movies. So you can go see an outdoor movie. Hello, Mr. Fly. Welcome back. You can go see an outdoor movie. This, I always find this kind of silly because in Canada, in the summer, it doesn't get dark till 9:30 p.m. at night. So in June and July, it's light out really, really late. If you watch my live stream tomorrow night from the farm, you'll notice that it's light out at night because we're in the northern hemisphere and we're tilted towards the sun, I think. Another thing people do, oh, sorry. So I find it silly outdoor movies because you have to wait till 10 p.m. before the movie can start. So anyways, let me just copy paste the question link again so that people can ask some questions. Let me check what we have here. Oh, this is a great question because the answer is so easy. Kia says, oh, there's the fly again. You guys would, no, I missed it again. Anyways, Kia says, what places are good to go fishing in Canada? Everywhere is good to go fishing in Canada. We are the land of fish. So every creek, every river, every lake, every pond, every ocean, like there's just fish. Canada has a lot of fish. So you can go almost anywhere. There's people that fish, I live on a river, there's people that fish in that river all the time. Sometimes people go geocaching. So people have hidden little things all over the world. And if you have a GPS, most of us use our phones now, but if you have a GPS, you can go and look for these things. So people hide little boxes and little trinkets and little things all over the place. And you use your GPS to go and find them, and then you leave a little message inside the box for the next person. So that's called geocaching. Oh, and here's one that we did kind of mention earlier, and picnic. So here are some people who are just having a small meal outside. So they go on a picnic. I think we can, sometimes we say picnicking, but like, do you want to go have a picnic tomorrow? Do you want to go on a picnic tomorrow? You can say both. But you could also, I don't think you would say, do you want to go picnicking? It's a word, but we don't use it very much. So sometimes we have a picnic or we go on a picnic. You can use both those. When you go for a picnic, you can sit at a picnic table. So I'm not sure. I think these exist all over the world. I think everyone has picnic tables. In Canada, this is generally what a picnic table will look like. A place to sit, a place to put some food, or to play a game, a board game, but we have picnic tables almost everywhere in our parks. You can always find a picnic table where you can sit. And this, someone asked, what's the most popular Canadian outdoor activity? And I said, you know what the most popular outdoor activity probably is? It's probably this, barbecuing. Almost every Canadian has a barbecue, and almost every Canadian at some point in the week, every week is barbecuing something, either hot dogs or hamburgers or sausages. So barbecuing, I think barbecuing, I'm not sure if this is really an outdoor activity, but I think barbecuing is like the number one thing that Canadians do in the summer. There's a lot of barbecuing going on. And here's one that we don't do a lot. We don't do a lot of hot air ballooning. So this is a hot air balloon ride where you go up in one of these hot air balloons. Again, I'm not going up in a hot air balloon anytime soon, but this is another thing that people do. Some people really, really like, sorry, my papers are stuck together here. bird watching. So bird watching is when you go out. Do you experience a ride in the Ferris wheel? I don't mind Ferris wheels. I know they go high, and I've been on a few. But anyways, bird watching. Some people like to go out in the summer. Actually, they do this year round. It's just nicer weather in the summer. But some people like to go bird watching, where they go and they use their binoculars. These are binoculars to look for birds. Let me put binoculars in the chat. Hopefully I spell it right. Binoculars. So there you go. I should have put the word on here for you, but it's in the chat right now. Binoculars. And they go and look at birds. And usually they keep track of all the birds that they see. So they'll be like, oh, I saw a bluebird, and then they'll write that down. Some people go sightseeing. Here's the Parliament buildings in Ottawa. So we looked at the word sightseeing in the travel video earlier, a couple weeks ago. So some people in the summer, their outdoor activity is they go sightseeing. I know someone asked about this recently, but they go to see the sights as a tourist in their own country. So you can kind of be that. You can kind of do that. Did I just say you can kind of be that? You can kind of do that. Towards the middle of the summer, we have a lot of festivals. So festivals are events you can go to, and they usually have a theme. So sometimes there's music festivals. Sometimes there's art festivals. This is for an art festival. So you go and it's outdoors, and people display display their art. And if you go to a music festival, there's usually a different band on stage every hour, and it's super, super fun. And then towards the end of the summer and in the fall, we have a lot of fairs. So a fair is a little different than a festival. A fair usually has a whole bunch of, it has more things to do. A festival is usually like, there's a festival for music and you listen to music, or a festival for art and it's about art. But a fair has rides for the kids. It has like a mini amusement park section. There's sometimes farmers come and show their animals. So there might be a cow show or a sheep show. If you go in Toronto to the CNE, the Canadian National Exhibition, it is a gigantic fair. So it's just a fun place to go and things to do in the summer. Hey, I'm going to check the questions. And then we're going to wrap up this live stream. Again, sorry that we started late. Let's see. Papi Chulo says, probably you should get a fly swatter to get rid of that fly. I probably should bring a fly swatter with me next week. I wasn't expecting there to be flies. Next week, I wasn't expecting there to be flies. That was kind of weird. Little kids have tree forts or tree houses. Yes. I see the live stream might have stopped for a sec. We'll see if it, hopefully it starts going again. Let's see here. Is it really true that Canadians go outdoors in their pajamas? Sometimes, but not normally. We don't normally, sometimes, but not normally. We don't normally go outside. We go outside in our pajamas. I think the live stream, oh, there it's going again. So let me see the next question. Just chase that. What's the phrasal verb you just said? Oh, I'm not sure. Just chase that. What's the phrasal verb you just said? Oh, I'm not sure, Abner. Abner's asking about what was the phrasal verb you just said to chase that fly away? I'm still wondering. I'm not sure what I was trying to swat away the fly. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Let's see here. There's just a couple more questions, people, and we'll wrap this up. Let's see here. Dan Moriah says, what are the most popular free activities that Canadians do in the summer, and Canadians do in the summer in their free time? In Brazil, people walk a lot, especially in the summer. People in Canada do walk a lot. Like a lot of people will have supper and they'll go for a walk in their local town. And people go to the park. The park is usually free, and usually go to the park. The park is usually free, And usually the kiddie pool or the splash pad, remember we looked at those two words earlier, those places are usually free as well. So that is something that people do. Let's see here. Kathy says, which is correct? Which is correct? I am interested in traveling or I am interested in travel. You can say both. Yeah. Oh, I'm really interested in traveling next year. Or, oh, I'm really interested in travel. So one's a little more specific, but they're both grammatically correct. Correct. Next question. Daniel says from Denmark, is it possible to go off-roading on a four-wheeler? Yes, sorry. You can take a dirt bike or a four-wheeler or a Jeep, anything that you want and go off-roading, yeah. Or a Jeep, anything that you want and go off-roading, yes. But generally, if you're driving a four-wheeler, we say they're gone four-wheeling. We even say ATVing, which is kind of hard to say. Let's see here. This is from How. Hi, Bob. Do you like hunting? This is from How. Hi, Bob. Do you like hunting? I have not been hunting. I don't mind fishing, but I don't really like guns or hunting that much, so I have not done. I know people love it. I know there's people in the world that love it, but it is not my cup of tea, so it's not something that I enjoy doing. It's not my cup of tea, so it's not something that I enjoy doing. Anyways, I know there were a lot of questions in the chat that I didn't get to. I know a lot have grammar questions, and you should just know that on my channel, I don't deal with grammar questions during my live lessons. So on the Friday live lesson, we have a topic, and I try to stay on topic because when people watch it later, they appreciate that. And I will be doing a live stream from the farm tomorrow night. And again, that's not really about grammar. It's more about just a question and answer session about anything in English, like more of a conversation. Like, how do you talk about buying something? How do you talk about going camping, those kinds of things. And it's really for listening and conversation practice. If you need grammar practice, there are lots of YouTube videos that you can find to practice your grammar. I'm sorry, grammar is not the most exciting thing to explain on a video. I will do some actual videos coming up on grammar, but not during the live lessons. It's just a little too challenging. But I really appreciate all of you jumping from one live stream to the other as I got things working. Sorry for the little, we would call it a hiccup. Do you know what a hiccup is? Like, we would call it a hiccup. Do you know what a hiccup is? Like, when you do that, you have the hiccups. But this morning I had a technical problem, and we would call that a little hiccup. Like, you can use the word hiccup. I should type that in. You can use the word hiccup in life as well when you can use the word hiccup in life as well when something doesn't go very good. Yeah, like you have a little hiccup. So we had a little technical glitch this morning. We had a little hiccup. Let me just check if there's any last questions. Marco has a question here. Awesome. Last questions. Marco has a question here. Awesome. You guys only barbecue hamburgers and hot dogs like in the USA? It's really different. Well, we do a lot of hot dogs and hamburgers and sausages, but we also do a lot of kebabs and vegetables. But probably the most popular thing would be hamburgers, hot dogs, and steaks. Steaks are pretty popular in Canada as well. Let's see. Next question from Rami. Rami Sleep says, outdoor activities should be for fun and relaxing, or could it be for work? Outdoor activities should be for fun and relaxing, or could it be for work? Outdoor activities are almost always for recreation. They're almost always for fun, okay? Some people do have jobs where they need to work outside, but generally they would be for fun. And Papi Chulo says, for fun. And Papi Chulo says, Bob, your live stream is really growing on me. I simply love it. It's enriching. Please keep it up. Well, thank you, Pappy. And thanks for asking questions using the form. That's really awesome of you as well. I know that you're a regular here. I see Kate there as well, who's a regular. But anyways, thank you all. We're going to wrap this up. When you wrap it up, it means we're going to take it to the end. Remember, if you watch this tomorrow again, there will be subtitles. So if there were parts that you didn't understand, come back tomorrow and there will be subtitles. This video will have subtitles, captions tomorrow. So do come back and watch it again if that will help you. There is a problem. So come back and watch it again if that will help you. There is a problem, says Mustafa. So anyways, this will have, and don't forget to subscribe with that red button down there somewhere and give me a thumbs up if this video helped you. I do want to thank all of you for coming once again. As I see people saying thank you in the chat, all of you for coming once again. As I see people saying thank you in the chat, you are very, very welcome. And again, tomorrow evening at 7:15 p.m. EST, live lesson from the farm tomorrow. So let me just, I made a spelling mistake there. Don't want to make a spelling mistake. So if you have some time tomorrow night, you should come and watch that. Let me just check if there are any more questions. Sometimes a couple more pop in. I don't know if I covered all of the outdoor activities. I didn't do sports. I left that off on purpose, except for street hockey or ball hockey. But hopefully you got something out of this lesson. Again, if you need some practice and you need to listen to some parts of it, it will have subtitles tomorrow. Come back and watch it. Thank you to all of you that came and participated. Thank you for chatting to each other in the chat. That's awesome to see that you guys like talking to each other. There's one question here, so just 1 minute, says, what's your favorite outdoor activity? I think walking right now. Get my heart in shape, stay healthy, go for a walk. So anyways, thanks for watching and have a great weekend. Have a great day. I'm going to end this live stream. I think I pushed this button because I'm using